One half of something always the same? What do you think? I want to hear what you're thinking to this question. Kaylin, what are you thinking to this question?
Yes.
Yes? Why?
Because it's still saying the same exact thing, just in a different way.
Okay, so Kaylin thinks yes. Eva, what do you think?
Yes,
Yes,
because
because they'll have equal parts. Okay. Ashley, what do you think?
I think yes, because we split one half this way, and then another half this way, and one half like that, and they'll all still be the same.
Well, let's think about that. So Ashlyn said if we had this square and we partitioned it, remember we divided or split up, we did it vertically. Yep, I do want you to do this. What would be this section called, Ashlyn? 1/2, good. What would the other section be called? 1/2. So Ashlyn's partitioned one of these squares this way. And she said, well, if we partition another square horizontally going across and labeled them their pieces, they're the same. They don't look the same to me.
Because they're partitioned two different things.
But you said they were the same. Are they same or different?
Because they're both ending up to be 1/2.
Okay. Are they the same or are they different? Alyssa, what do you think?
They're the same because they both are divided into half. The line is just going this way instead of this way.
Okay. Ashley brought up another way to partition our square, to go diagonal. Is that the same as the first way to partition?
Yeah. No, they're just split in different ways.
Is it the same or is it different? I don't know. Which piece would you like to have? What do you mean? What do you mean it's different and same? Ada, talk to me.
They're both broken up into halves, but they're broken up into different ways.
I like it. All of these pieces are the same size. All of these pieces are the same size. One of them looks like a tall, skinny rectangle. One of them looks like a long rectangle. And another piece looks like a triangle. But if you could rearrange each of these pieces to be the same shape, they would take up the same amount of space. They are cut differently, Aiden. They're cut differently, but they still have the value of 1/2. Riley, what you thinking? We are just doing 1/2 right now. We'll talk about that a little later. Just think about these versions. Are these all the same? They look different, but they are worth the same amount. Does that make sense? Yes? Kayla?
I was thinking that it was both different and the same.
Okay.
It's because they're all different. It's because they're going different directions, and they're the same. It's because they all are equal to 1/2.
Yes, you're exactly right. These are all split up into half-size sections, but it just might look a little different. Does that make sense? Yeah. Riley?
At first I was thinking it wasn't going to be the same because I was thinking if you had half of something like 4/8 would be half of that square. you would have actual number. So I was thinking it wouldn't be the same because there's not the same number of boxes.
Well, again, the same thing I told Riley. Stay away from those numbers right now. We're going to get there. But right now, just look at the different ways that we've shown 1/2. Okay? Do they look the same? No, they don't. But they are all worth the same amount. Clear? You gotta know that, because you're gonna see fraction halves split up in lots and lots of different ways. How can we break a square into fourths? I want you to write fourths, and I want you to draw 4 boxes, and I want you to come up with as many different ways that you can break a square into fourths. So here are all the different ways we can partition objects differently into fourths. Which piece would you like? Which piece would be the best piece to have? Which piece would be the best piece to have? Peter? Which one? Why?
Because they're bigger.
This is a trick question, Peter. What is each of my pieces broken into? 1/4. One piece might look bigger,
But they're all equal.
but all of those pieces are equal. Which piece looks the smallest? Which piece looks the smallest? Kate? The third picture? That one looks the smallest? Is it the smallest? No. No. They are all the same. Each of those pieces are the exact same. So Peter, even though this piece, what you say, this one? This piece looks big. I want that piece. It is the exact same amount of, would you like cake, pie? Pizza. Exact same amount of pizza as this one. Do they look exactly the same? No, they don't. But it is worth the exact same amount. Okay? It is the exact same amount. Those two pizza slices, are worth the exact same amount as this one. It's the same amount of pizza. It's a mind trick. They think that you're going to say, oh, that piece is bigger than this piece. But they are actually equal. I'm writing, you're writing.
Miss Miller,
Yes?
can I see Ashlyn Bennett in the nurse's office, please?
Yep, I'll send her.
Thank you.
Please take the nurse pass, Ashley. Each piece is worth the exact same amount. I'm going to put this back up in just a second. Each piece is worth the exact same amount. So it's kind of a trick question that I asked Peter of which piece was bigger. Because every single piece is the exact same size. They might look bigger, but it's the exact same size. Alright, Ben is not convinced that all my are the exact same size. So if you're watching this video, you're going to have to imagine what I'm doing because the rest of you can see it in real life. A giant piece of graph paper. And I'm going to make some squares. Okay? I'm going to make, let's say, a 4 by 4 square. Okay? What's the area of a 4 by 4 square? Area of a 4 by 4 square. Not a trick question. Area of a 4 by 4 square is blank. No, the area. What is the area? How do you solve for area? Okay.
16 square meters.
Beautiful. 16 square units. Okay, did you count? Did you multiply? Did you picture an array? What did you do? Alright, so Kate said, hey, I know that an area is kind of like an array. I can multiply. Alright, so how many different versions do we got? 4. Alright, drawing my box. So we know that the whole area for each of these boxes is going to be 16. Fair? Can we all agree on that? Alright, so now I'm going to partition my boxes. Let's start with something I can easily do, that far version, where I have my vertical sections. Okay? So I'm going to partition it this way. Just like this. We good there?
Yes.
Does that look fair?
Yes.
Okay. What's the area of each of my pieces?
Oh.
You might have to look close. What's the area of each of my sections? 4. I'm going to write it in here just so that I remember that each piece is worth 4. We good?
Yeah.
So we're trying to prove that no matter how I cut it, the piece is still the same. Because I think a lot of us agree that that version, cutting it this way, is incredibly tiny looking.
Yeah.
Alright, so now I'm going to scoot over and go to the horizontal version. Okay? What's the area of each piece now? What is it, Peter? 4. So are each of those pieces the exact same?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, I'm going to scoot over one. I'm now going to do the one that kind of has a cross. What's the area of each of these pieces? Caleb?
The area is 4.
Weird. Each of those pieces, the area is 4. Is that the same as my first one?
Yes. No.
Yes. Each of my first partition had 4 as my pieces. Alright, now I'm going to do the diagonal one. Alright, now this one's going to be tricky, so bear with me. I have 2 whole squares, right?
Yeah.
I have 2 halves on this side. 2 halves give me a whole. Then I have 2 halves on this side, which gives me another whole. Alyssa, you alright over there? What's it going to be?
4.
4. Are you convinced?
Yeah.
You get the exact same area of pizza, of cake, of brownie, no matter which way you cut it. So if I have a 4 by 4 pan of brownie, does it matter which way I cut it?
No.
No, you're still going to get 4 square units of whatever I'm cutting. Kaylin?
Well, couldn't you say that you had a a chocolate bar, and each one is 1/4. And if you were to go 1/4 measuring cup and melted the chocolate and put each chocolate bar and melt it inside of it, wouldn't that tell you that? And then to look at it and each one is the same. Is that?
Kind of. It gets a little very, very tricky.
8?
8.
Oh.
Try your hand at 8. They are with. Oh, you knew. They should be right, but. So how would we know that Caden's not done? He's that second box. Aiden, how would you not know?
Because you would see that all the boxes are not equal.
And fractions are fair. Fractions are fair. All of his pieces are not equal right now. He got 2 friends getting giant pieces and 4 friends getting little teeny pieces. That's not fair. All right, Caden, make it fair for us. Good job, Ken. Hit the blue pause button. Matthew, permission us.
What about tens?
We're not going to mess with tenths. In 3rd grade, we only work with halves, fourths, eighths, thirds, and, well, we don't really do thirds, but we do sixths. You'll see some thirds, but you won't have to, thank you for not talking while I'm talking. You'll see some thirds, but you won't really have to do a whole lot with them. Okay. Kate, do you have a question? I'll let you know if we're going to play that today. Alright, we are going to read a book called The Spider Weaver. Okay? And we're going to learn about what's called kente cloth. Raise your hand if you know what kente cloth is. You're at a slight disadvantage because I know we talked about this last year. Ashlyn, do you know what kente cloth is?
I think.
Okay. Alright, so we're going to read the story, or I should say I'm going to read the story called The Spider Weaver. We're going to think about a couple of questions. This is what it looks like. It's called The Spider Weaver. It is a legend of kente cloth. What does that tell you? What genre is this going to be? What genre? Susanna? It is going to be a folk tale. Is it going to be fiction or non-fiction? Aiden? Fiction. Folk tales are in the fiction category. Remember the cool thing about folk tales and legends and myths and that kind of thing? You can choose to believe in it if you want to. Nobody really knows. They've been told story after story. Parents tell their kids tell their kids. It kind of goes that way. Okay, so not like, you can say it's a true story because it didn't go very far. But think of like our constellation stories. Nobody knows if that actually happened or not, so we say you can believe them if you want to. Okay? Alright, we're going to think of 2 questions while I'm reading. We're going to think what happened in the story, because there's a problem in the story. And then because there's a folk tale, we know that there's something that we need to learn. So I want you to be thinking what happened and what does that make you learn about. Okay? So we have The Spider Weaver, a legend of kente cloth. Once long ago, in the Ashanti village of Bodwire, in the country of Ghana, which is not too far away from Uganda, there lived 2 expert weavers. One weaver was called Nana Karagu. The other was called Nana Amiya. These men wore a simple cloth called Ngwen Matoma, and everyone from the king of the Ashanti people to the lowliest apprentice wore it. Right, please sit down. Do you know sign language? Late one night, Karagu and Amiya went to the great Ashanti forest to check their traps for grass cutters, animals that they would bring home to roast. On this night, they found grass cutters in all of their traps. The weavers were very thankful. Karagu and Amiya were returning home when Amiya stopped suddenly. The light from his lantern had fallen on an amazing sight, glowing like moonbeams against the midnight sky. "Come, look, my friend," Amiya whispered to Karagu. "I see a small miracle." What does it look like they're looking at? Emily, what does it look like they're looking at?
A spiral.
It does look like that. The small miracle was actually a web, but never before had either of them seen such a wondrous design. Yet it had been woven with a single unbroken thread, a thread that was even finer than a strand of human hair. "Let's bring this treasure home with us to study," Karagu whispered to Amiya. Amiya carefully detached the web from where it held fast to the banana tree. But as he did, the web collapsed, sticking to his fingers. "Oh, it's ruined," Karagu cried. "Now how will we ever learn to weave this beautiful design?" Saddened, the weavers walked home. Their discovery was lost forever. Why did they want to take home the web? Why did they want to take this? Jake. Try to learn how to weave it. Remember, these guys are the master weavers of the village. When the men entered their village at dawn, Amiya's wife, Afia, came out to meet them. Afia offered them a calabash filled with cool water to drink. Put your pencil down. Neither man spoke as he ate, and for this reason Afia could sense that something was wrong. "Please tell me what troubles you," she said. "It's a beautiful web," her husband answered sadly. "When we tried to bring it home from the forest to study, it crumpled in my hands and was ruined." "Do you think you can find another one like it?" Afia asked quietly. Karagu was doubtful. This web was very different, very special, and no creature ever spins the same web twice. "Perhaps what happened was a blessing," Afia suggested gently. "Though you cannot find the same web again, perhaps you could find the same weaver." And that is what Karagu and Amiya set out to do. Early the next morning, they eagerly made their way through the bush. Past the tall silk cottons and the papaya trees, they found the banana tree where they had first seen the extraordinary web. You think they're going to find the weaver? Raise your hand to tell me. You think they're going to find the weaver? Harlan, what do you think? Okay, why do you think that?
Because they might find many spiders, but one of them might not.
Okay. Who else does not think that they're going to find the weaver? Mateo, why not?
Because they when they were explaining the web, they explained that there was nothing else like it.
Okay. Savannah?
I don't think so because maybe they could explain a dead person. But there was spiders and
Maybe. Who thinks they're going to find the weaver? Bryce, why? Kaylin, you think they're going to find the weaver?
No.
Kaylin?
It's because it's a story,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they're probably gonna find, like maybe they're gonna figure out spider a spider weaved it, and maybe since it's a fiction story, maybe they're gonna talk to all spiders that can fly, and and see if they weaved it. But the only thing is they don't have the web.
Sure enough, in front of them were the beginnings of a new masterpiece. In no time, a slender black leg emerged from the shadows and rested lightly on the silk threads. Amiya and Karagu could see the creature clearly now. The master web weaver was a lovely yellow and black spider. As soon as they saw the spider, the men felt terrible for wrecking the magnificent web the night before. Now they could see that the web was the beautiful spider's home. Longing to take the web home with them, the weavers looked at each other, but neither of them wanted to destroy the spider's home a second time. They were about to leave when the spider looked directly at them and began a weaving dance. Dip, twist, turn, and glide. The spider made her way across and back over the web. She moved like a woman dancing, regal and very graceful. The spider wove on and on into the afternoon, and the weavers stood still in admiration as they watched her. At dusk, the tired but satisfied spider completed her creation. Why do you think the spider did that? Why do you think the spider did that? Alyssa, what do you think?
I think she did that because I think she was cutting in the leaves while she saw them looking at it, and she did it again because she thought they wanted to create the design and they might watch it because it was very pretty.
Okay. Why do you think the spider did this weaving dance? Lauren, what do you think?
Maybe to show that he did it, she did it, like she is the one who did the web.
The spider moved sideways to the edge of her web, but before disappearing into the shadows, she turned in the direction of Amiya and Karagu. In that brief moment, the men were quite certain she smiled at them. Then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone. The beautiful spider had shown the weavers how to weave new, intricate designs. What a wonderful teacher she had been. What a wonderful gift she had given them. With great joy, they returned to their village. In time, the weavers redesigned their looms so that they could imitate the spider's weaving dance. At first, they copied her patterns in black and white thread, but soon they dyed their threads in bright colors and developed many new patterns themselves. And they named this new woven cloth Kente Nuen Ntoma, to what today is commonly called Kente cloth. Everyone in the village wanted to wear this new cloth, but at first, only the king of the Ashanti people wore it on special occasions. As time passed, others were allowed to wear the new cloth too. Soon the two weavers were well known across Ghana, and because of the spider's generous gift, they created designs and patterns that are still worn throughout the world today. So this is actually what kente cloth looks like. You can see it's very brightly colored. It almost looks like fraction bars to me. A lot of triangles, a lot of horizontal bars, a lot of sections, green and then yellow and then green and then yellow. Okay? Yeah.
All the kente cloth it's basically just a dress.
It's fabric, so it's cloth. So you can make it into whatever you want it to be. You can make it into a t-shirt, you can make it into a dress, you can make it into pants. It's just fabric. And then you sew it into something else. Okay? There's an afterword, and I'll leave this book on your side of the board if you want to read it. It just goes into a little more detail about how kente cloth is made. So somebody tell me what happened in this story. What happened in this story? Peter, what happened in this story?